So today we're gonna make a tuna sandwich. So basic, yet so popular. Everybody loves a tuna sandwich. And this video actually goes out to my good friend John in Los Angeles. He's getting super healthy. He's a pescatarian right now, and so he's eating some fish. And I was just talking about how we could substitute some basic ingredients for a really good tuna sandwich. It's really interesting how many requests I get when I make a comment about fish, seafood, tuna. They want to figure out, how do I make a tuna sandwich without the tuna, without the fish? It's pretty easy actually, and we're going to use chickpeas or garbanzo beans, which is a very high protein, high fiber bean that gives it the base, and then we're going to bring in some kelp seasoning, which gives it that seafood taste, and it also adds a lot of little extra nutrition to it. If you've ever studied kelp or nori or some of those the different sea plants, they just have a lot of iodine and calcium, magnesium, some of those things. So that's going to give it our seafood taste. Let's just get into this and show you how we make it. So first up, we've got a can of drained chickpeas, garbanzo beans. They're the same thing, and we're going to mash those up really well. I use a potato masher, but you can use a big fork or whatever works. And what happens is they get creamier the more that they're mashed. Couple quick facts on the nutrition comparison between chickpeas and tuna. For 200 calories, beans have 0 cholesterol and tuna has 65 milligrams of cholesterol for the same serving. And get this, there's double the iron in the chickpeas, there's triple the calcium for the same calories. And fiber, our chickpeas have 10 grams of fiber. As we know, meat, dairy, eggs, seafood have no fiber. So those are nice and mashed up. You can see the texture, and it actually sticks together. There's no chunks in there. We're going to bring our veggies in, and that's going to make this tuna or mock seafood salad what it is. So we've got a celery stalk, red onion, dill pickles, and I'm using about 1/4 cup each. That spoon is a tablespoon. The measuring cup is 1/4 cup for the visual. We just want to make sure they're finely chopped. That way you get every flavor profile in every bite. I'm going to just keep chopping. Make sure there's not a big chunk of celery or onions in there. We've got a nice big pile of veggies. It's about the same amount as our mashed chickpeas, ratio-wise. And then we're just going to add all of that to our bowl. And then in comes the big taste. So first we're going to add capers, about 1 tablespoon. And I just really like that pop of briny punch. With capers, you really don't need any salt. And then Dijon mustard, about 1 teaspoon or so for that tang, a little vinegar tang to it. And now we have our seafood seasoning. This is the kelp. I use Bragg's. You can really use anything that you want, but I'm going to put the recipe in the comments below along with a link to that seasoning since it's a bit unique. I put in about 1/2 tablespoon of that seasoning. We're going to check it at the end. And then we're going to put sweet relish in there. I use about 1 tablespoon of that, just that imperceptible dab of sweetness and a little more moisture to it. Now our $1 million skinny trick. Well, at least it's a dime trick. We're going to ditch the mayo, the oil, the high calories, and go for an unsweetened plant-based yogurt. Most brands are going to be a fraction of the calories of mayo. And so this way we can add 1/4 cup. Any plant-based yogurt is fine as long as it's unsweetened. And the bonus or the side note is you can whisk in a splash of lemon. It makes a great sour cream. If you want to use mayonnaise, a vegan mayo, or whatever, that's totally up to you. We've mixed that really well now, and then season it the way that you want. So if you like it a little bit saltier, a little more seafood, a little more kelp, whatever you like, just make sure that this is the ultimate tuna mixture for you. You can see how thick that is for spreading. And again, just to recap, normally this kind of mixture would take a lot of mayonnaise. We mash the chickpeas really well, so that gives it some creaminess, a little bit of body to it. And then with the amount of plant-based yogurt we put in there instead of the mayonnaise, it gets that nice texture to spread nicely onto bread, and it's not going to fall apart on you. So again, we used about a 1/4 cup of our plant-based yogurt, and that would be about 40 calories for a 1/4 cup of this particular plant-based yogurt. Just make sure it's not sweetened. Once again, check that. That would have been about 280 to 300 calories for if we would have used just straight mayo. This is even a lower calorie mayo because it's a vegan, so they do some different things to it. So let's put our sandwich together. We're doing a tuna sandwich video. What better time to talk about seafood and about that subject for just a second, because we've all been told that seafood, fish is so good for us. It's got the good fats, right? The thing that we want to consider, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, so I'm going to post a couple of things and you can look it up yourself, but about half, that's the current stat, half of the fish, seafood that we get now is modern times, 2021 here, is from farms, from the fish farms. And it's either out in the ocean in big pens, or it's they're bringing them on land more and more, so these big pens of fish. The problem, there's a few issues that you have that you'll want to look up yourself, but that is, you know, when you get that kind of crowding, which is not natural. Whenever we mess around with nature, it's usually not a great thing. So the fish are really crowded. They are not in their natural environment where they're swimming around, they navigate and all of that, and so they're bumping into each other, they're injuring each other. There's weak fish that are dying. There's obviously a lot of bacteria. It's very stressful for the fish, so they're weaker. And then what has to happen is they have to bring in the solutions to these kinds of problems. So the antibiotics and some things like that are coming in to keep these fish as healthy as they can, but they still have very high levels sometimes of parasites and just things that aren't great. So fish is not the wonderful solution that we think it is. So if you're pescatarian, you're eating fish, just some things to consider. And you know, with our plant-based tuna sandwich, it's one more thing that you can have on the menu, which is totally guilt-free and totally wonderful, high protein, high fiber, all that good stuff. Let's get to our tuna. Here's what it looks like. See, it's got a great texture for spreading. It's not gonna fall apart. I've seen tuna done like this with chickpeas before, and to me, I think it just needs to be spreadable. Nice, it's chunky, it's got a lot of crunch in there, pickle, celery, onions. This is some whole wheat bread, so some really big slices. And then, of course, you're gonna put some really sturdy lettuce. I've got some romaine pieces here. So I want to taste this, and then I will tell you exactly how this tastes. And I'm gonna be very honest. If it's not outrageously good, I mean, tuna is tuna, so it's like, you know, it's not gonna be like maybe the favorite thing you've ever had in your life. It's such a staple, and like the way that we make our tuna here, it's got, you know, all of that texture, some color. Oops. Okay, so here, go like this. I'll put this down here and we'll slice off a piece. Okay. Isn't that look really good? Like if you're really hungry right now and you love tuna, this is gonna do it for you. So let's try it. Let's get the texture.
You know those cooking shows where they take a bite and in the first split second they go, it's so good. I didn't do that. This is so good though. I really, I ate my bite, had it has a tuna, that seafood flavor from the kelp. That's really, it's really interesting. And then it has just about the same texture, but like, when you eat it, it's really seafoody. It's hitting me now. It's like that kelp is really seafoody, but then it has all the crunch. And when you chop up, be sure to chop up all those vegetables super fine. Ultimately, it's a killer sandwich.